This year we have been trying to do great things, and today is the step in the right direction. Hi everyone, for us. This is Before we move on to the product launch, glad to be back. Let's take a step back all once again. Let's relook at what this year we have been trying to do great things. Here and today Poco is the step in the right direction. Again, for Number one, before we move on to the product launch, let's take a step back. We only focus on those features which make a difference to your product. Here at Poco, we stand for three things. Number one, technology that truly matters. We only focus on those features which make a difference to your product. And how do we do that? Is by democratizing decision making. We constantly are on the lookout for your feedback and your inputs to talk about and to create new products. And lastly, because of this, we are constantly evolving. This belief seems to have worked. And probably because of this, we are now the #1 smartphone brand on Flipkart in the segment 15,000 and above. And not just that, we are the #1 quality smartphone brand in the country. From the very beginning, Poco has been focused on India as a market. Now, because of this, we have delivered what all the Poco fans in India really need. And hence the tagline, everything you need and nothing you don't. Before we move on to the product, we also have a fun entertainment contest just for all the Poco fans out there. We have 5 simple questions with 5 very simple answers. So all the Poco fans who have joined us via the live stream can answer these questions on Twitter with the hashtags Poco C3 and hashtag the game changer. So to the first question, a very simple question, which is the #1 brand on Flipkart in the segment 15,000 and above. So let's cut to the chase now. I'm extremely excited to be launching the next device from Poco, the game changer, Poco C3. Now to talk about this device, let's welcome Mr. Anuj Sharma, Country Director, Poco India.
Thank you, Mancho. Now we are talking about the Poco C3. There's an intentional C3 to it, and obviously the C stands for camera, and this is the triple camera setup that you get. So let's get straight into what this triple camera setup can do. Starting with the primary camera, you've got a 13 megapixel shooter. Now this one turns out really good images. Images which are bright and colorful. Let's take a look at a couple of samples which showcase what this camera can do. Now the first thing that we wanted to really capture is how do people come through. In today's times, it's really tough to do so. So these are the best examples of, I guess, people photography that we could find. Anyways, what you can obviously see is the entire vibrancy of this image. The colors as well as the overall detailing here is brilliant. Not to mention the sharpness. If you go behind these subjects and take a look at the stadium that's there, even the sharpness from there has been completely preserved. Now the second camera I want to talk about is the 2 megapixel macro camera. Now I absolutely love macro cameras because it lets you get really close to the subject and see things in a completely new light. Here's a sample of a fruit that I'm sure a lot of you guys love. Now, this is a kiwi fruit, but the amazing part about this camera is you can see the entire detailing. From the seeds to the pulp of the fruit, as well as the outer skin, which are incidentally called trichomes, and you can see each and every so-called trichome or hair follicle of this entire fruit. So now let's take a look at another macro sample. And this is something that we use almost on a daily basis. These are pencils, and of course these ones are color pencils. We wanted to show you 2 things here. One is the detailing, right from the pencil tip all the way to the wood. All the detailing has been preserved perfectly, but also the fact that with the macro camera you're getting a color output like this one. And that's something that differentiates the Poco C3 from other phones in and around its class. And now let's get to the 3 or the third camera of the C3. And this one, of course, is a depth camera that lets you take great portrait shots. And the portrait shots don't have to be just people, but objects as well. Let's take a look at this particular example of a perfect portrait shot of this cricket trophy. Incidentally, this probably is our first trophy at Poco, and we're really proud of this one. But what you can also see is the detailing and the sharpness that's been preserved of this batsman in front, as well as the edge detection and the beautiful depth to the background. And that's exactly what you want when you're putting a third camera there, which is helping you take better portraits. Now that sums up the 3 cameras that you have on the Poco C3. The first one was a 13 megapixel main shooter, and you saw what it could do. Second is the macro, which I absolutely love. And the third one is for portrait shots, and that's the depth camera. Now on their own, they're brilliant cameras. But let's also take a look at how do they really compare with the competition. Now, both these shots were taken at the same time, as you can see from the clock there, as well as under same conditions. It is overcast in Bangalore, and that sometimes makes photography really tricky. And of course, you can see the C15 camera kind of struggling to capture the colors as well as the details in this case. But the magic actually is if you zoom in a little bit, and there's a small plant right in front in the middle of the frame. Once you zoom in, you're able to see even more difference in the camera. On the Poco C3, this plant and its leaves have been captured perfectly. You can see the colors and the details, while on the C15, that starts to become a little fuzzy. Another image of a mural. Now this one is really important to get the colors right, because this is hand painted, and whenever you're capturing something like this, you want the colors and the details preserved if you are to share this. Here you can see a massive difference between the 2 devices. Not only is the Poco C3 better at the color reproduction part of it, but even all the details are much more clearer and better preserved on the Poco C3. And that brings me to the end of the camera section. 3 amazing cameras that you can make the maximum use of. Now let's move on to one more question. And that is question number 2. The Poco C3 comes with a dash setup to meet all your photography needs. Was it a 1 camera setup? Was it a 2 camera setup? Or was it a triple camera setup? Put in your answers with the hashtag Poco C3 and hashtag GameChanger and get a chance to be one of the 15 winners of the brand new Poco C3. Now let's move on to the next aspect of the Poco C3, the design. How does the C3 look? Well, it definitely looks very Poco. It comes with a signature 2-tone pattern that you've come to expect from the brand. And of course, we've done that on multiple other models as well. But not just that, you also get this amazing texture, which improves the overall hand feel. The grip is improved, as well as it reduces the overall fingerprints and the smudges that you have on other devices. And for the camera layout, we all heard you. You love the camera setup on the Poco M2 Pro. Not just the texture and the 2-tone pattern, we've also borrowed the camera layout from the loved M2 Pro. So you have the symmetrical square design that goes perfectly with the Poco C3. Now the Poco C3 comes in 3 amazing colors. You've got the Arctic blue, you've got a lime green, which is an amazing fusion of green and blue, and then of course the much loved matte black also makes its way onto the Poco C3. Now coming on to one of the most important aspects of a smartphone, the display. So let's talk about the Poco C3 display. Now why do I say it's really important? Because 2020 has changed a lot of user behavior, largely on smartphones. In fact, all of us are using our smartphones up to 12% more than last year. But the biggest impact has been on e-learning and students. In fact, 84% students are using smartphones for digital education today in India. And almost 60% of the students are spending 4+ hours every day on e-learning. With extended usage hours and your e-learning depending on smartphones, your display is really important. What you need is a big enough display that you can take in all those information from. And that's exactly what we've got on the Poco C3. In fact, the Poco C3 comes with a large 6.53-inch display. And this display is a HD Plus display as well. So you are assured of both the resolution as well as the size on the Poco C3. Now, if you think this is a big display, well, yes it is, but it's not really inconvenient. The reason is it comes with a 20:9 tall aspect ratio, which means you get enough screen space but without giving up on the ergonomics or the hand feel part of it. So it's narrow enough to hold in your hand, but it's tall enough so that you can consume all your content. What it's also really good at is using split screen mode. So you can have two apps side by side on this large display, making it look even better. And for the time, those extended hours when you're consuming content, well, we've got you covered there as well. The Poco C3 comes with a dark mode. When you're going into your extended hours of content consumption, it makes it easier to view and overall enhances experience. And that brings me to question number 3. Now remember, you have to tweet it out with these hashtags, hashtag Poco C3 and hashtag Game Changer. And the question is a really easy one. Poco C3 provides a highly immersive experience with its -inch HD Plus display. So you just have to give the display size and you could win one of the 15 Poco C3s. Now the Poco C3 also comes with amazing performance. In fact, it's powered by the Helio G35. Now Helio G35 is an interesting processor. It's got 8 cores of ARM Cortex A53. Now that gives you a lot of performance, but these cores are clocked at 2.3 gigahertz. Now that's a lot of performance packed into this. But not just on the CPU side, even the GPU is super clocked at 680 megahertz. So all of that combined gives you phenomenal performance. And we are combining this performance with up to 4 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage. So you have a lot of headroom when it comes to overall performance with the Poco C3. Now, if you want more storage, we've taken care of that as well. Now you've got a 3-card slot, which basically means you can use 2 SIMs. So you've got a dual SIM device and the 3rd slot for your micro SD card. And on the Poco C3, you can expand by another 512 GB, giving you enough and more headroom for the years to come. And all of that combined gives you a rock solid performance. Now G35 has been a competition favorite as well. In fact, if you look at 3 devices here, which is the C11, C12 and C15, they are all using the Helio G35. So we can be rest assured that the performance will be decent. However, what starts varying with the competition is how much memory is available. As you saw, the Poco C3 comes in 3 GB and 4 GB variants. When you look at C11, you only get 2 GB. While the Poco C3 offers 3 and 4 GB variants, you can only get that on the Realme C15. Not C11, not C12, just the C15. Now we've talked about that display and we've talked about the performance. Well, of course, the next part has to be prolonged gaming. And this is where the Poco C3 starts to really shine. Well, for one, you've got the Hyper Engine technology. Now this one is really important because what it does is intelligently balances all the resources when you're playing a game. It also detects when you really need that extra spike of performance and it's able to deliver that too. This ensures that you have a lag-free gaming experience whenever you're playing on the Poco C3. Now, prolonged gaming is interesting today because in India, we have more than 250 million but on the Poco C3, you get a better battery as well. Well, introducing Better Battery 2.0 with the Poco C3. Now what happens is every battery out there has a limited number of charge cycles, which basically means that you can charge your battery to 100% and discharge it only a finite number of times. When that number runs out, your battery starts degrading. A battery that was, say, giving you 10 hours earlier will now give you 9 hours or 8 hours. Well, we found one solution to this in Better Battery 2.0. We are increasing your charge cycle count to almost 1000. That's 25% more than all the competition out there. And this leads to an incredible 3.2 years before your battery sees any degradation. And what this 3.2 years means is more longevity and lesser chance of replacement on your battery. Well, this is just one more area where on Poco, we've been really focused on giving you a better quality product that makes us India's #1 quality smartphone brand. And to talk more about quality, I would like to hand it back to Mancho. But before I hand it over to Mancho, I've got one more question for you. So here's question number 4. Again, remember to use the hashtags Poco C3 and Game Changer. And your question is a fairly simple one. Poco C3's battery lasts longer than other batteries due to dash. We just spoke about it. It's a fairly easy answer. I hope you guys win.
What makes Poco C3 isn't just about specs. It's also the quality of the product. The screen on Poco C3 is TUV Rhineland reading mode certified. Now with this, you have little to no strain on your eyes while you're using the phone for extensive reading. On the exterior, we have also included the P2i splash-proof nano coating. Now with this, your phone is protected from accidental water splashes. Along with this, we also have included rubberized gasket seals and reinforced corners to add more durability for your smartphone. Even on the charger, we have added a spike guard of 380 volts. Now with this, even accidental voltage fluctuations will not damage your smartphone. Now that was quality on hardware. Moving on, quality on software. At Poco, we give extreme amount of importance to the software on all our Poco products. And hence, we have launched something what we call Poco Clean Experience, and this is available on all of your Poco products. With this Poco Clean Experience, which we are enabling with MIUI 12, you now have App Drawer, Google Discover Feed, and many more. And most importantly, there are no ads. With Poco C3, you can be rest assured you are getting a quality product. And now moving on to the last question for the contest. One of the highlights of the Poco products is the dash experience. We have 3 options: Poco Clean Experience, Poco Must Experience, and Poco Moon Experience. What's the right answer? Poco C3 is the real game changer. It comes with 13 megapixel AI triple cameras, a 5000 mAh battery, 6.53-inch large immersive display, and most importantly, a quality product with Poco Clean Experience. Now to the most interesting aspect, the pricing of the phone. To talk about it, let's compare Poco C3 against Realme C series to understand the pricing of the product. What you're seeing here is a little bit of a busy slide. We are comparing Poco C3 against the Realme C11, C12 and C15. In terms of display size, Poco C3 has a bigger display than the Realme C series. In terms of the cameras, Poco C3 has a triple camera. Realme C11 has only a dual camera. C12, triple camera, yes, and C15 has a quad camera setup. In terms of front camera, not really a lot of differentiation. In terms of performance, Poco has a MediaTek Helio G35, which is the same chipset as the entire Realme C series. But on Poco C3, you also have a lot of Poco optimizations to get a better performance output. Now talking about RAM and storage, we have 2 variants in Poco C3. The 3GB RAM 32GB ROM version and the 4GB RAM 64GB storage version. In terms of Realme C11, it only has a 2GB. In C12, it only has one variant, which is a 3GB RAM 32GB. A C15 has 3GB RAM and a 4GB variants. In terms of battery, Poco C3 comes with a 5000 mAh battery, but has a better battery 2.0, which has a better lifespan than the Realme C series. Now coming to the protection, Poco C3, as we have already mentioned, comes with a lot of quality inputs. Let it be the P2i nano coating, let it be the TUV certified reading mode, and most importantly, the Poco Clean Experience, which the Realme C series as of now does not provide. Now what should be the price? If you see here, Realme C11 only has a 2GB variant. It does not even have a 3GB and 4GB variant, so let us not consider that. But in terms of Realme C12, it comes with 3GB, 32GB, where it is priced at 8,999. Now let's move to Realme C12. The 3GB, 32GB variant is priced at 8,999. Now the Realme C15 starts at a price of 9,999 for the 3GB variant, and a 4GB variant is priced at 10,999. At 10,999, Poco has Poco M2, which is a much better value proposition. Poco C3 comes in two variants, the 3GB RAM 32GB variant and 4GB RAM 64GB variant. The 3GB 32GB variant is priced at 7499 rupees only. The 4GB 64GB variant is priced at 8999 only. Now to the availability, Poco C3 will be available on Flipkart starting. With Poco C3, now we have the entire range, which we are calling the Poco Squad. The Poco X series, the Poco M Pro, the Poco M series and the Poco C series. That's all from our side. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our live stream partners and to all the Poco fans who have joined us. Thank you so much. Goodbye.